Merry Christmas, friends. One and Only today brings you a unique recipe handed over generations in Kerala. Thanks to my colleague Roshni Thomson, today we will be making a Christmas cake. Friends, what is amazing about this recipe is its simplicity. So what we have is here 500 grams of dry fruit and dry nuts soaked in rum for about a week. I believe in Kerala they soak it for a year, but thanks to Roshni I got to know about this recipe only a week back. So I came home and soaked this in rum. I have 250 grams of ground sugar. I have 120 grams of white flour maida, 5 grams of baking soda, 5 grams of baking powder, 2 grams of salt, 120 grams of butter, and for a Bengali it's quite amazing. It needs only 2 eggs. So now we move on to the next stage where we will mix the ingredients. So friends, there are 2 sets of mixing to be done here. So I've taken a steel pot because this will go on the stove. So what we will do is we'll first mix the wet ingredients. So that is 250 grams of water, then 250 grams of the ground sugar. There the sugar sticks, you see. There the sugar goes into it, and the butter. So what I will now do is put this on the stove and mix it, and once it cools down we will mix the dry ingredients separately into this. Friends, now we come to the second part of the mixing. We take a glass bowl. We put here 120 grams of flour, maida, as we all know it. Then we mix the 5 grams of baking soda, 5 grams of baking powder, and 2 grams of salt, and we mix it up nicely. And into this we will then pour the wet ingredients after it has cooled in. We'll mix it nicely, and then it will find its way into the oven. Now we add the dry fruit and the dry nuts which were soaked in rum into the dry ingredient, which was flour, salt, baking powder and baking soda, and we then mix it up nicely so that the fruit and the nuts get coated into nicely with the flour. Wet ingredients have now cooled down. As if you remember, we had heated the butter and the water and the sugar. While it was cooling down, those who are discerning can see that I went in for a shave and I cleaned the apron. It was not clean, so I cleaned the apron, and I'm back to mixing the ingredients. What we have to do is now crack the 2 eggs into the wet ingredients. One may ask, why did we have to wait for the wet ingredient to cool? That is because if we poured eggs into hot mix of sugar and butter, the eggs would scramble, and we don't want to have scrambled eggs. And into this we'll now pour the dry ingredients. Alexa, can you pass me the dry ingredients? Friends, we have reached almost the end of our baking process, in the sense that we will now pour this mix of dry and wet ingredients into a cake tin with parchment paper, and of which the sides have been buttered. Gently pour this mix there, let it fold in. So friends, our Christmas rum cake is ready. I had said that we need to bake it for 40 minutes, but in our case it took an hour. So it depends on the efficiency of the oven. Accordingly, you may adjust the cake or the time the cake needs to be baked. Take it out of the tin and put it on a plate, a cake plate, and then you can on top put some powdered sugar so that it looks nice and attractive, and put some Christmas decoration. Our Christmas rum cake is now ready to be enjoyed with a cup of tea or coffee on Christmas Day. Merry Christmas and a big thank you to Roshni Thomson for this recipe.